Still, we celebrate the saints
Hmm.
more than just the big holidays like Christmas and Easter. We will
Yeah.
celebrate the saints and we venerate them, and you choose the saint that speaks closely to your heart, and that's the one that you have your image at home, and then you pray for them to intercede for you. And I think that that's really beautiful because it kind of gives a little bit of color to the religion, right? Because
Howdy, y'all, and welcome to Catholic Not Fascist Podcast. Here, we acknowledge both the love and the sins of the Church, while not shying away from the strength and weaknesses within our own humanity.
As we step on a path toward atonement with an open mind and heart full of joy, we are so happy you're joining us. We are your humble hosts. I'm Nicole Secker.
And I'm Megan Larson.
Welcome to Catholic Not Fascist. Everybody, welcome back to Catholic Not Fascist. Not only do I have Moose here today with me, but I'm very excited to introduce one of my best friends in the entire world, Tatiana Camargo, or as I like to call her, Tati. Um, Tati and I met in college in 2011. We've been roommates. We've seen each other through all kinds of different like relationship statuses and life changes and moves, especially on my end. Um, and today we're going to talk to Tati about her Catholic faith, particularly like in Brazil, where she's from, and in Canada, where she now lives. Um, so first question, Tati, are you a cradle Catholic? That is to say, were you like born into a Catholic family, baptized as a baby, things like that?
yes, yes, I am born into a Catholic family. I think that in Brazil, everybody pretty much is. You don't really get a choice as you're born. It's really, really common that you're just gonna get baptized, regardless if your family will practice or not practice.
It's like a
Moving like,
cultural
yes,
Catholicism.
exactly,
So
exactly.
So is that the case in your family? Were you more like culturally Catholic or were you like going to mass every Sunday and stuff like that?
It's more like a cultural Catholic. So like it's interesting though because my grandmother, she was, I guess she has passed. She was very Catholic, like very much so. Like she lived in front of the church. She would go to every single mass and all that good stuff. But then my parents weren't, and we were less involved in church unless we were at my grandmother's house,
Okay.
which yeah, so a little bit of both, I guess. Just like that. I think for me, it's not like a every Sunday we are in church, but every Sunday we are at grandma's, we go to church kind of thing.
Okay. That's how
You
you grew
know,
up.
yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
Versus if you listen to this podcast, you might know this already. I grew up in a very conservative Catholic house, which Tati is well aware of because I was super religious when we first met. So she's also seen me through a lot of like religious changes. She's kind of got the full spectrum of
Yeah.
Nicole. Um, Did you? Okay, so but now church is more of a regular thing in your life, right? Is that
It
correct?
is. It
Okay.
is, yes. I since like now that I'm an adult and I mean, I was baptized as a baby, no choice there, kind of thing. My first communion was mostly my grandmother that was like, she's gonna do it. Let's do it. So she kind of led me through my first communion. And then after that, it was really my choice for the confirmation piece of it. And I didn't do it as usually people do, like late teens or early, you know. And I chose to be confirmed as an adult since. So I my confirmation was actually in 2020, like a little bit before COVID started.
I
I
don't,
got confirmed.
you
Yeah,
probably did tell me this, but I don't remember this. I thought you were
probably.
confirmed as a
Yes.
child.
I
Yeah.
didn't know. I was confirmed very recently, and that was my choice, right? So I think that that's kind of like how my religion, like path, kind of came to me. Like I, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, when we were first when we first met, and then so I was like paired with another Brazilian girl. That's how I met this awesome Brazilian girl in my room, but she was only there for the semester. So the next year, me and Tati were roommates. And I was like a go to church every Sunday, sometimes multiple times during the week type of person, and Tati didn't go at all. And then there
No.
was like a point in time just after college where I was like stepping away from faith and she was kind of stepping back into it. So that's really, I think that was
That's
really
right.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we ever really crossed like together like in this. Like we are always sort of in a little bit of different like phases over. Yeah.
Yeah, when I was in between Bolivia and Peru, I was back in Canada for a few months and I did go to church with you, right? And I did helped out with like the refugee
Yes.
board.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's like really the only time we were really ever going to church together.
Yeah, it's all good.
We would definitely go now if we lived anywhere close to each other, but we live thousands of miles away from each
Unfortunately.
other, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
that's
Yeah,
interesting.
that happened. Yeah, it was really interesting to me because I didn't think I wanted to be confirmed because to me it was all like, okay, I go to church, me and my relationship with God is just my own foster. And then I'm like, you know what though? I could. That would be interesting. Let's go through this. And then I did, and it was awesome. Really
Good.
good.
Did you feel anything when you were confirmed? Not everybody does. I'm just curious. Like,
I think because this parish, you are the one that actually took me there to this parish. I still go to that church. I love them. Like this is amazing. It's like it is really is a community to me, and I feel very much part of that community. So I
I
think that
I really
was a
like that
big.
church.
I do too, and I think that made a difference. I don't
So,
think if I were going to a different, maybe it would be a little different for me, but like I felt like they were like, okay, now you're even more part of our family. I don't know. Like it was really nice.
from like my perspective, right? Like, uh, confirmation is an act of the Holy Spirit. So, and it's like just like a nice opportunity to, not a nice, but like a really good opportunity to get more graces from God. So like to strengthen your faith. But I also think that
Mhm.
like that part of the reason we have sacraments is this community aspect of it to like strengthen our ties to the
That's right.
community that we
Hmm.
are part of as the church. And that I did like that about that church. I haven't always felt like that in churches, like that their communities.
Me neither. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I here I very recently learned that like in a lot of places there's this expectation that you go to the parish that's closest to you or like whose lines you fall within. That's not how, right? Like you're giving me a look like what? Because we just went to whatever Catholic church we wanted growing up, basically. And my dad like was very particular, like I said, very conservative. So he wanted a very conservative church. So like there was one time where we were like, there was probably two or three other churches that were closer to us, but we drove 30 minutes every Sunday. We lived in a city at that time to go to
Mhm.
a specific Catholic church.
So that's the one that you wanted to. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
I know that you lived in like a small town in Brazil. So, which like I've
Yeah.
also lived in a small town and there was only one Catholic church. So that's where we went. I moved a lot growing up. But like, did you feel like there was a community at the church there, or was it just like so ingrained in everyday life? Like, how did that feel to you in Brazil, I guess?
Yeah, so that's the interesting part because like this small town is where my grandma was at, which we lived actually an hour away from her.
Okay.
And where we actually lived, we didn't go to church there at all. Like that was, we could have seen a church there. I mean, I knew where the churches were, but we didn't go. So, but this one, like where my grandma lived, it was actually the church was in front of her house. Like you literally cross the street and that is the church. The
Okay.
priest was our neighbor, literally our neighbor.
Your grandma
And
was like the type to have him over for dinner or bring him food, wasn't she?
correct,
Yeah.
yes, yes. And she loved it. Like like the priest was a son to her. Like it was, I mean, she was always
Oh.
over. It was amazing. And he happened to be a priest that we felt close to as well, like with like, the same sort of values and because it changes, right? Like depending on which priest you're talking to, I guess. You can feel a little different from like if you're feeling like more like they understand you, or maybe that they're more trying to scare you into coming to church, right?
There are different
And
approaches to being a pastor. Yeah. And
correct. That's what I mean. Exactly.
um, so like despite the fact that my dad would like choose a church, I've always grown up with the fact that like you go to Catholic church no matter if you like the priest or not. Which as a kid, which and I was very religious as a child, but and I felt a very strong like I was happy to go to the churches we went to. I liked the priests at that time. I might not
Mhm.
agree with them as much anymore, but so that was all good. But like, I
Right.
could understand why like a bad priest, like a boring priest, might scare somebody away from
There's
mass.
also that because I'll tell you, because that's the thing with the small towns, right? Like you have the priest,
Mm-hmm.
and if you like the priest or if you don't like the priest, that's the church you're going to because there's no choice.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever there was like a guest priest around, if people didn't like him, people just wouldn't go to church. And
Mm.
that is like, but you should still go to church regardless, right?
I mean,
So,
you should because and this is something I definitely feel now. Now I will go to church whether or not I like the priest because I want to go spend time with Jesus and I feel the presence of Jesus in the
exactly.
Eucharist.
The
Yeah.
point is, right?
Yeah, the point is like yeah, and like honestly, if you really because there are some times when priests say things I really don't agree with, I just ignore them. And sometimes I get a mix. Like some priests I'm like that point is really good, but that one's really bad. It's almost like they're I don't know, human. Like,
Right, right, you know.
um,
Yeah,
do you know what clericalism is? Have you ever heard this term before?
I don't think I do if you wanted to explain to me.
Okay, so clericalism is kind of like this elevation of priests as being like something like more than, like almost like a king or a mayor, or like just more than a regular human being,
Mhm.
and that you like just respect everything that a priest does, no matter what he does. Right. There's obviously judgments for that. It's very interesting in the United States where we have this like idea, if not the reality of democracy.
Mhm.
And but like, do you feel like clericalism is strong in Brazil or yeah, okay. That's what I
Yeah,
expected.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And there is and that's the interesting part here because obviously we go to church to be close to God and Jesus and
Mm-hmm.
not because of who is there preaching to you at that Sunday, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that we like as a society culturally Catholic, we do put priests like at a pedestal really
Mm-hmm.
where and it can be good and then I think it can be bad too because I think it's good to humanize them a little bit and see that they can really just have different ways to pastor you and you can take whatever feels good to you and maybe not accept 100% of what they're saying, right? So mhm. But it's kind of hard over there to separate them, right? Because their word is the word
It's like
and
law,
period.
which and it does exist in Canada and the United
Yes.
States.
Yeah.
Just maybe not to the same degree, I would say. Do you feel like it's different here? Like, how do you feel about that here? Or in Canada, I should say, because I'm,
Yeah, I think that it's different because, like, what I feel really here is that my faith here is mine. Like, my
hmm
journey is mine. Nobody will be like trying to. If I don't go to church on Sunday, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, I care, and it's only for me to care. And back home, it's almost like, well, but you didn't go to church. Well, what the priest noticed that you were not sitting in the front pew every day. You know what I mean? That kind of thing, like that Sunday. And here I feel it's more like, you can, attend mass for the reason that attending mass is to feel close to God and to your spiritual journey. And the priest will not be like, "Yay, Kia, what happened to you last week that you were not here, lady?" You know what I mean? Like they would just be like, "Oh, hey, you are," like it's kind of always welcoming instead of like, I don't know, kind of
that's
like
good.
top down. You can feel them. Yeah,
I feel like that he does, but does your priest know who you are? Like, as a
he
person?
does.
Okay.
Yes,
And I mean,
but
you've
it's
been
because
very
I'm involved.
involved. Yeah.
But I am evolved. That's right. Exactly. I am evolved.
I don't
And
think I don't think my priest knows who I am as a person, despite the fact that we've actually met in a business setting. Um, but I'm very new to my parish, and there's a lot of people in it, and it's like that's like the interesting thing here, where I'm at in mid-Missouri, is that people have been going to the same parish that their grandparents went to, and their great grandparents went to, and their parents went to, and like that it can be a little clicky, I would say. I think like at
But
some
see, but
point,
that's Brazil too, and I think that that's kind
yeah.
of like the mentality there. Yeah.
Well, in British Columbia, where I grew up, I lived in pretty big areas. Like even Maple Ridge was like a very big town. So like I don't think like definitely at our church in Maple Ridge, we were kind of known because my dad was the Knights of Columbus, but I was very young. Like we moved away from Maple Ridge when I was 8. So it's kind of hard for me to say like
Mm-hmm.
I liked my church. I loved the band at my church. They were really good. They
Oh, that's
actually wore
nice.
really good,
Yeah.
and I was like dancing in the aisles as a child, kind of thing. Like when I was like 3. Okay, guys, don't let me be disrespectful. I was a toddler, um, and I so like really good experiences with that church. And then we moved to Surrey, which is like a bigger suburb of Vancouver. And so I doubt like our priest probably knew who we were to some extent. And my dad is actually the type of person who will invite a priest over for dinner. So which is great. I think it's a good
Let's
thing
see
to
that. Yeah.
do. There
Mm-hmm.
is priests get a lot asked of them, and sometimes they're not treated like human beings.
It's
So
true.
um in my course of my nonprofit work, I have had some relationships with priests, and um, mine's often filtered through a business setting, so it complicates things a little bit there. But I like they're normal human beings, like so.
They are. And
Yeah.
they really are. Yeah, they really are. And I find that like, I don't know if I am allowed to say this, but I find that like, obviously the priests, they have a mission and a purpose that
Hmm.
they chose for themselves. And that's a really beautiful one. But at the same time, it's also a job. I don't know if that is,
No, it right.
you
It's
know,
a vocation, right? So it's like more
it is a
than
vocation.
right.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
kind of like being a mom or a dad, right? Like there's a lot of work involved with it, but it's also
Right.
just your
Exactly.
life. Yeah. Or
Exactly. That's right.
married. I mean, like, yeah, they're
Yeah.
right. Because I mean, there are things like I can't just let my husband die.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
So no, I love my
Yeah.
husband deeply, but like, and there have been times when really our whole survival, basically, I mean, I'm sure our family would step in if it got dire, but like, has been on my shoulders, right? So like, that
Mhm.
is like, it is different than being single in that regard. So,
That's
I
right.
think it's,
Yeah.
but yeah, and they very rarely like, get to turn it off.
Exactly.
So,
But that's exactly the point that I was going to get to because they don't get to not be a priest for the community, right? Like I get to come home after 5 o'clock every day and I'm done, right? But they really
hmm.
don't. And it is exhausting. I can feel so like like when you were saying that your dad was inviting the priest over for supper and having him like I think that that's really nice actually to do something back, right? Like to give something back to that
Just
person that is yeah.
I will also say, there were more priests back then than there currently are. Be careful with that too, because sometimes it's like another obligation because they don't want to say no to people either. So,
I
and
guess,
also,
I guess.
if you have them over, treat them like a human being, not like your priest.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
Joke around.
That's true.
I'm not saying don't talk about God because that, I mean, comes up in friendships too, but like you can talk about
Yeah.
other things.
Other things,
You
other
can talk
things.
about
Yeah.
whatever sports ball you really like to
They
talk
may
about.
like.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. The price of groceries, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Oh
Like
my gosh, yeah.
anything really. Yes.
You can ask them
Mhm.
how much food they've been given recently, because that's the thing with priests, they get given food a lot.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
Yeah, it's a wonder that they're
Or
not
just yeah.
all like really pulley like me. Like, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
But
Or
they're
whatever they
like,
do in their off time, like going for walks and things like that. I don't know. Yeah, that could be a good conversation topic. What you do.
oh yeah, and like some priests, like they'll be like, oh, I love to go for hikes. Like, do you know you can go hiking with your priest? You can go
That's
out to
right.
dinner with
That's
your priest. You can
exactly
go for
right.
a drink with your almost anything you can do with a normal human being, you can do with a priest. As long as it's not sin. I wouldn't invite a priest for that,
No, 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 no,
probably.
no.
What was okay? So your grandmother pushed you through First Communion.
Yes.
I doubt you remember your
Yes.
baptism as you were a baby. So what was like, did you do reconciliation, like confession first and then do, yeah, okay. And
Yes.
what was that like? What is it like to to receive your first communion? Like, do you wear a pretty dress? Do you have a party? Like, what's that like in Brazil?
It was. it was, yes. So you go and you do your confession, whatever the day, a few days before, I think. I don't think it was quite the day before or whatever. And yes, you wear a pretty dress and you're all like, it was a white dress. I remember being a white dress. It had to be white. And then afterwards, there was a party to celebrate. And I did that with my cousin, who was on the same age as me. So the whole family was there for both of us,
Ah.
which was really nice. Yeah. And it was just like, I remember feeling like, oh, now I'm part of this. Like now officially I can, because having the communion is very special, right? Like, especially when you're like a
Hmm.
child and you're like seeing everybody else go in line and you cannot go and to receive it. And then you're like, huh, now I can. So you feel like you're part of the crowd.
Um,
It was very nice.
I think it was very similar for me. I also wore a pretty white dress, not as extravagant as what little girls wore in
No,
Arizona when we moved there.
really.
Like, theirs were basically like mini wedding dresses. I don't know if that's
Oh,
what it's
wow.
like in
No,
Brazil.
ours is very simple. Very simple.
Yeah. And we also had
Hmm.
to wear like some in my church, and this is not true of all Catholic churches. I didn't know that, but we all had like a little robe to put on over. I think it was just so that like supposed to make it not about the dress, even though you all had a pretty dress
Oh,
on underwear.
interesting. Also, you had to wear one of those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had to wear it
Hmm.
over it. But I think that's good in a way because like if you have somebody who's poor or like just can't afford it or find a
Yeah,
nice dress for whatever or suit if you're a boy, for whatever reason that there's kind of this and I think it was like the same for girls and boys. We had this like almost like what an altar server wears, but not quite that we put on over it.
hmm,
And they just reuse them every year, right?
yeah,
My
I
hair
get
was
you.
done up really pretty though. Like I remember my mom maybe like one of my aunts woven baby's breath into a braid in my hair.
Oh, that's pretty. That is
Yeah.
pretty.
So that was
Yeah,
very exciting, very princess feeling. I was wearing pretty shoes. I remember this. Um,
special. Special shoes for a special occasion.
I also remember that like afterwards at the church, there were like treats because I grabbed some kind of like apple tart or something because I really liked apple. See, I remember this as a child. And then we also had a celebration at our house with like our family. So it wasn't like you invited your best friend, unless maybe they're very Catholic too, but like you are like
Right.
fa
Oh, interesting.
family and maybe some church friends were there. But I feel like in Arizona, in Mexican culture particularly, which comes because I lived when we moved to Arizona, I was 10. It was about an hour from the border. Yeah, I remember the first time I saw a communion there, and I was like, wow, because the girls were in like these like wedding dresses basically, and they didn't put
That's
anything on over
crazy. I mean,
them.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, different, I guess different cultures are a little bit different. That's right. Yeah.
And like where you place the importance, like especially within Mexican culture, you kind of get it in some other Hispanic culture, but quinceañeras, right? Like,
Yes, that's right. Yes.
yeah, that's like a huge thing. And I've been to some quinceañeras when I lived in Arizona. Like you went on a trip instead of having a quinceañera, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. It's because I think it's also part of the fact that my family wasn't
religious.
practicing, right? So my
Hmm.
mom said, you choose. And I chose to go on a trip because I didn't care. But a lot of my friends chose to do the whole coming out, whatever, quinceañera, them call it. Um, but I
Is
think that
it
it
like
really depends.
so the ones I've been to basically felt like little mini wedding receptions, once again, wedding, but like
That's
the
pretty
girls wear a
much
pretty
it. Yeah.
dress. It's very similar. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty dress. You kind of come like with your dad and then you dance and then that's kind of how it goes. But the same thing. Same thing as you see on the movies and all that good stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Very similar.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Girls, not for
Yeah,
boys.
just for girl. Yeah, right.
Hmm.
If you're listening to this and you're like, what the heck is a quinceañera? Because it's not part of every Catholic tradition.
That's
Um,
right. Yeah.
predominantly in Hispanic communities, it is the celebration of a girl becoming a woman. And it is thought that Mary was around 15 when she had Jesus. So that's why it is the 15th year. Um, and there are some traditions that go with that. It is not a sacrament. Some people think it is. It's not a sacrament.
Right.
But there is like a church celebration that can happen with it. And then there's usually some kind of party that feels a lot like a mini wedding reception or a full-blown wedding reception. It's not cheap
Some
usually.
people, yeah.
And there's like, I don't know if this is the same in Brazil, but with the girls I grew up with, there was this thing where their dad switched out their flat shoes for high heels. Like that was like a symbol of becoming
That
a
could
woman.
be, yeah, there could be. That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
I
So
guess, yeah, it
that
depends on how deep you want to go into this whole thing and how, like, I guess, yeah, how traditional you want to go versus a little bit more, out
it's
there.
like
Yeah.
a Sweet 16 on steroids, although Sweet 16s have got a lot more ridiculous. Like my Sweet 16 was just like a slightly bigger birthday party than I'd had before.
There you go. Yeah.
We just had it at the community pool.
Oh, that's
So,
cool, actually. I
oh,
mean,
it
sounds
was a
good.
lot of fun. Yeah.
Sweet 16 is a little bit different, right? Like the idea of it is
There's no
nothing to
religious.
do. Yeah, okay,
Mm-mm.
yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
just like it is like a little, and it's boys and girls, right? Like I just told you, I did it with it. It might be that it was like more important for girls. I do think it still has this kind of connotation of you're becoming an adult. I think it's also tied to the fact that you often get a driver's license when you're 16 and things like that.
Different, right? Because no, back there
It's
is just about becoming a woman. Yes.
it's not religious, at least not any of the places I grew up. If somewhere in the world it's religious, please, like let us know. I'd be very curious about that. But like, yeah,
I
so
really don't. Yeah.
if you're not from the United States or Canada, Sweet 16s are not typically like what like if there's that show on MTV, that's really crazy. Nobody does that I
Okay,
know
thank you.
of. Yeah, unless you're rich, right? Which is just like
Mhm.
everything. If you're rich, it's like yeah. But I had a really good time at my Sweet 16. So,
Oh,
it
that's
was
cool.
fun. It was very innocent. We had good times. Is there anything, so like we kind of talked about how like there's a difference in clericalism and you at least what you
Yeah.
feel there's a difference in like people don't really notice as much, like it's always just welcoming, so which
Mhm.
might just be Canadian culture in general or might be the culture of
Could
your
be.
churches.
Could be, yeah. I think that like for like growing up in Brazil as a Catholic, like culturally Catholic country, and here, I think the like a big difference that I see also is that like our holidays are very much religious, right? Like we have so
Hmm.
many religious holidays, and you are like and it's part of it. So, for example, I don't know, like we have here obviously Christmas and Easter, which are the big ones, and everybody, I mean, quote unquote, everybody like will celebrate them. But back home, you have all other smaller ones that here you may only know if you are really somebody that attends church and knows exactly what they mean, but there everybody's just celebrating
Yeah,
them, right? And even like the
yeah.
smaller, like not smaller, I guess I shouldn't say that, but like the different like saints, we do celebrate, we celebrate the saints
Hmm.
more than just the big holidays like Christmas and Easter. We will
Yeah.
celebrate the saints and we venerate them, and you choose the saint that speaks closely to your heart, and that's the one that you have your image at home, and then you pray for them to intercede for you. And I think that that's really beautiful because it kind of gives a little bit of color to the religion, right? Because you and
Hmm.
I, Nicole, we could go to church together, and I would be like, oh, but Saint Anthony is the saint that I am being, and you are
Yeah.
like, no, actually, Saint Benedict is the saint that that is interceding for me, and I'm like, yeah, this is amazing, right? Like and this is very much part of the culture, very much
So
part of the culture.
So I think that's very Catholic, actually. So, and I
Is it
definitely was
okay?
taught, yeah, I was definitely taught to pray to saints. This doesn't happen everywhere, but at my confirmation, we chose a saint.
Oh,
And
did you? Okay.
yeah, so my confirmation name is Joan for Joan of Arc, who is, which I
Nice.
just thought about the fact I don't have an image of Joan of Arc in my house. I should probably have one because
Hmm.
she is one of the saints that I've like carried with me throughout my whole life that I've asked for intercession, that I pray to, and that I form kind of like a friendship with.
I like that word, friendship. Yes, I do
Yeah.
actually like that word. Yeah, but like for example, Saint Anthony's Day
Hmm.
back home is a holiday that nobody
Yes.
knows, you know. And I don't know
Yeah.
if it's the same. Like here in Canada, it isn't. It absolutely isn't, right? And
Mm-mm.
that kind of gets tricky because then we do have a lot of holidays, which I'm not complaining, but it
But
does
they're
get
not the
tricky.
religious holidays, so you kind of miss
You're
that.
right. We have a
Yeah.
lot of religious holidays, and the community comes together to do like a celebration for that saint, right? Which is really can be really fun too, and nice, and you get to know your people, and yeah.
I have seen like well, I've seen some of it in person when I was in, like in Bolivia and Peru, and I've seen like videos online. Like there's so many traditions in like Seville. This past week there was the Feast of Saint Joseph, which is apparently really huge in Italy, and of course Saint Patrick's also recently happened,
Right.
which I would say
Slightly
is probably
different,
the
yes.
biggest in the United States and Canada. But it's typically not even really seen as a religious holiday here, unless you work for a
Yeah, I would
church.
say it's not. I would say it's not. Yeah.
Um, I don't think
Yeah, I think that
I would actually say probably St. Patrick's Day is like the biggest saint day in the United States. Maybe St. Valentine's Day, but like it's almost like the religion has been taken out of them, at least in the secular
I think
culture.
so. Yeah, I feel that way here. Like I don't think that I go to church on St. Patrick's Day for St. Patrick's Day. Like I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it's a little bit more
No,
like
I didn't go to
yeah.
church either on St. I could have. I mean, there was a mass, but like there's a mass
Mhm.
almost every day, right? But
Right.
um
Yeah.
I yeah, I don't know. And
I don't know. Because yeah,
there's not really any feast days that I'm like, oh, I have to go to church unless they're a day of obligation. Like I'm told I have to go to church. And Saint Joseph used to be a day of obligation here in the United States. I don't know if it is in Canada, but
it just passed, right? Yeah, it
mhm.
just like yeah, because see, and that's the interesting part because I know this because I received something on my WhatsApp from my family saying, "Hey, today's Saint Joseph." The feast of Saint Joseph,
Yeah,
and I'm like, "Oh, okay, now I know." Yes, because people remember those things very much. Like, yeah,
it's what was I going to say? Train of thought. Oh, it's a solemnity. So that's like a feast day on
yes,
superpowers, right? And
yeah,
typically you are obliged to go to church on a solemnity, but here in the United States, that's been commuted to like Sunday. So we just like it's like the Sunday before, the
right,
Sunday after that we
right.
celebrate a lot of those normally. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And I don't know, well, and I'm not 100% sure that it is a holy day of obligation, but I also know that some of our obligation, I don't think it is. I think there's like seven of them or something that aren't Sundays, because every Sunday is a holy day of obligation. But I think there
Yeah,
was a time when a lot of us would have gone to church on especially a solemnity. Um, there's the Feast of the Immaculate Conception in December that
yes,
I got that off in Bolivia and Peru when I lived there. That was a big one. And when I worked for Catholic Charities, we also got it off here in the United States. But that was
oh,
like, I would
nice,
say
okay, yeah,
the only addition, and it just felt like a day off because who am I going to go celebrate
right, exactly. It's just that, yeah,
with?
exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
and there are some people in the United States that kind of they call it liturgical living. Like you can find like influencers and stuff that do it where they incorporate more of that stuff into their household. Like some people right now are celebrating what's called Passiontide, which is like the 2 weeks before Easter. And I remember this as a child in Canada. It used to be a requirement. It's not a requirement anymore that they would cover like all the crucifixes and stuff in purple cloth.
Yes, yes,
Yes, but they don't do that at my
yes.
church. Like I went to church today and it was not covered, and I kind of miss that.
I remember one holiday that I really loved participating is Corpus Christi, which is in
yeah,
June. And
yeah.
it's really beautiful because people they come on the streets and they make this like um I would like this rugs made out of like flowers and things, and then there's a procession, and the priest goes on. It's
Aw.
really, really beautiful, and I've never seen it here, like since like
I wish
obviously I moved to Canada. Yeah,
I
it's
wish
really
we had
beautiful.
something. If we ever live like in the same place again, we're just gonna do like mini version of it or
I
something.
know,
But
I know, and the whole community goes out, and then they do the whole like way that the procession is gonna go. It's all decorated. It's really beautiful. I like
also, I
that
didn't
one.
mention
Yes.
that Meg is not on this episode because she couldn't make it. So, but Meg would love that. Like she would entirely be like all on top of that.
Let's do
So,
this. Yes.
yes. Um, I do have one more thing I want to ask for the podcast. So me and
Yes.
Meg do this thing where we always ask like, how has God blessed you this past week? So it can be
Mm.
anything. Like I've like literally been like, it's been sunny, like, and that was great. Or like, it could be like a book you're reading. It could be something religious or non-religious, like doesn't matter. But if you have something, I can just ask. If you need a moment to think about it, I can give you
I
that.
think I know what I want to say.
Okay. So Tati, how has God blessed you this week?
This week I felt very blessed by my friendships. And honestly, you, Nicole, we have been meaning to speak for many, many weeks and we haven't. And then this week we actually did, and now we're speaking again, which is amazing. And I miss you and I wish we lived closer to each other. So I felt very much that God was here with us. And when we were talking earlier this week, and I have been blessed by my other friends that have been with me through a very particularly difficult time that I'm living through right now. And I think that without my friends, it would be a little less
Smooth.
good. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel very blessed, honestly, by my friendships. Honestly, honestly, honestly. Hmm.
Um, I too feel blessed by our friendship. And she doesn't just mean it on the podcast. We had a video call earlier this week with another
Hmm.
really good friend of ours. And so, but it is always like this, where just like every adult in the world, we're like, we should really
Yes.
do this more. So I'm just gonna see, this is my plan. I'm just gonna keep inviting her onto the podcast. And then
That works for me.
it's been great for me and Meg's
Yes.
friendship because we talk like all the time now and we message about it. And yeah. Um, I I think it's a little bit like going to school together or something, right? Like you have something in common to talk about. So it definitely
Yes.
like
It helps.
improves. Yeah.
It
Um,
helps keeping in touch a little bit. Yeah.
so yeah, I'm really thankful for my friendships. I'm also thankful that this is my last week of working Saturdays for a while. I work in a job where we do a lot of events, and my next one isn't until the end of April, thank goodness. Thank you so much for listening in to me and Tati's conversation today. Please remember to stay Catholic.
And not fascist. Thank
Thank you.
you for having me.